Welcome to Money Matters. I'm Emily Johnson, Certified Financial Planner and Managing Director of Polaris Capital Advisors. Today, we're going to be joined by Debbie Burling of Forsyth Jewelers in just a little bit to discuss what is, obviously on a lot of retailers' minds right now, the trends in retailing and specifically in jewelry, and look forward to speaking with her in just a minute. Before we get to that, however, I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on with the markets and the economy over the last week or so. Really, this is the last week of the year, and it's been a very quiet week, which is pretty much what we would expect, and knock on wood, perhaps it will remain that way. This is typically a time where there's low trading volume. A lot of the managers have closed out their books for the year, so it tends to be relatively quiet. That said, there is still a lot of interesting stuff going on and stuff that we're continuing to watch. One thing in particular is the Italian debt auction that is happening as we speak. Yesterday, which was Wednesday, was the short-term debt auction. Today is the 3-year and the 10-year debt auction, and that seems to be going very successfully. It appears that that's been a successful auction. What's important about that is that, one, it was successful, that the Italians were able to place all of their debt. But what's also notable is that that debt, the 10-year debt, is actually yielding approximately 7%, which is really high. And that's something to watch right now because it's unclear whether or not the Italians are going to be able to sustain paying that debt at a 7% level. So we're watching with some caution to see what happens. Yes, it's good that those auctions went off successfully, but we are looking at that high yield and watching with some caution to see if the ECB and the IMF might have to step in sooner rather than later. So that's sort of an interesting dynamic that we're watching this week, which is an otherwise quiet week. There's been a little bit of economic news, nothing really to move the needle too much, relatively static. So I guess we might have to wait until 2012, but we're watching, I would say, with some caution the markets right now, just curious to see what's going to happen in Europe and whether or not the debt contagion that is occurring there, the contagion, the financial contagion, whether or not that might actually move over to the United States. So I'd be looking for some big moves in the early part of 2012 as a result of that, positive or negative, and we're definitely sitting back and watching with some caution right now to see how that might move. So again, a relatively quiet week, not a whole lot of economic news to move the needle, but we do look forward to an exciting 2012, hopefully a positive one. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a second with Debbie Burling to discuss jewelry and retailers, etc. for the year. Look forward to seeing you here in just a minute. Again, I'm Emily Johnson, and this is Money Matters.
Hello, this is David Kroll from Mortgage Network with the Mortgage Minute. It's this time of year, the end of the year, the beginning of a new one, and the perennial question is, what are the predictions? What's going to happen to us in the next year? Number one, in this area, real estate prices are going to remain low. They're going to remain bargain basement. Why? Because there will be a continuous stream of additional property coming onto the market. There'll be a continuing stream of people who want to sell, who have short sales, and who have foreclosures. So that's going to continue. The good news is that this year is going to hold upwards to 50% more sales of property, more transactions than in 2011. So that's good news. Everybody's going to be busy, there's going to be a lot of selling and a lot of buying, but the pricing isn't going to improve much. In the larger picture, the stock market is going to be just as chaotic as it was this year. Europe is going to continue to dominate the headlines. European debt is going to continue to be a problem. Interest rates are going to remain very low throughout 2012. Exactly where will they be? Who knows? But somewhere between 4 and 4.75%, interest rates will remain extremely low. So these are all the things that are going to happen to us. The most important question, however, is what are we going to do for ourselves? That's always the most important question. What the world is doing to us is really almost an irrelevance. What I am doing for myself, how I'm going to alter my life plan, what changes I'm going to make in my life due to the outside circumstances is the important thing. That's what I concentrate on with my clients in every meeting. What are you doing to reshape your life given the present reality? It's going to be an exciting year. I look forward to sharing it with you. Goodbye for now.
back to Money Matters. I'm joined today by Debbie Burling, the owner of Forsyth Jewelers here in Hilton Head, located in Sea Pine Center. And I know that Forsyth Jewelers has been in existence for, I guess, for 3 generations, and you have been on the island for 30 years.
Yep.
So I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in the jewelry business during not just those 30 years, but just everything that you've seen in the jewelry business.
We sure have, yeah.
So tell me, I mean, how has, what are some of those changes that you've seen over the last 30 years?
I think probably the biggest change that I've seen, and probably my fellow retailers on Hilton Head have seen, is the change of Hilton Head from very seasonal business, where we used to just die in January and February, to business all year round. Of course, summer and Christmas time are just really wonderful. But we still do good business in January, February. It's more seasonal. The other thing is, I think there's more competition, and that's really good for business.
Now, do you say that just locally or just competition within the jewelry business in general?
No, that's a good point. We have competition locally, which keeps us sharp and always doing our best, but there's also competition with the internet and, of course, for me, with other luxury businesses. So I think competition is good for everybody, and it just keeps you getting better and better and motivated. One other thing is Hilton Head is increasingly a wedding destination. So it's not just a place people come to vacation or visit grandma and grandpa, but they're coming here to get married. Of course, that's good for the jewelers. And it's such a picturesque and beautiful place. I know one of our staff was once asked if she would follow the couple as they walked to Harbor Town, and when they got to the lighthouse, the fiancé and his father dropped a big white bed sheet from the top of the lighthouse that said, "Emily, will you marry me?"
Aww.
And it was really romantic. So this is a great place for weddings too.
So it's a very emotionally charged business, I guess.
Yes, it is. Very.
So how has, and one of the things you talked about was competition, but how has the internet changed the jewelry business? How has it changed retail sales? How has it changed this technology, et cetera?
That's a great question. The internet really makes everybody do their very best, and it's a game changer. With a source of so much retail goods and the best prices that you could ever imagine, really the only way that somebody can compete with that today is through personal relationships.
I was going to say, I mean, you would think that you can't, it's not a high-touch, environment on the internet, and I would think that buying jewelry is such a, as we just said, an emotionally charged, very high-touch,
That's right,
and luxury item, high-dollar item.
Yes.
So, but you're still seeing sort of a trend somewhat towards the internet for some purchases?
For some purchases, but it's interesting to see what's happening right now. I read a great article in the Wall Street Journal by Al Lewis, and he said how the mom and pop shops, like the bookstores, for example, they started going out of business with the rise of the big box stores. And then the big box stores started going out of business because of the rise of Amazon and the big internet sites. But today, even Amazon is having trouble because they're discounting so much, it's hard to keep their profitability.
Right.
So we know the way to compete with that is with high tech and high touch. And you can't touch that many clients unless you're high tech. But today, it's really nice to have somebody come in the store and they try on a necklace or whatnot, and we can take a little video clip with the iPhone, send it to the husband or send it to their email so they have it and they can play it back for their husband. Yeah, it's really wonderful.
And I would think, too, that probably the internet has helped people become more educated on what they're buying as well. I mean, I know that I hear this a lot from healthcare providers, that everybody comes in and they've self-diagnosed something.
That's right.
And is it the same thing with you? They know sort of, I want to buy this kind of diamond, or
Yes.
Are they educating themselves before they purchase?
Yes, they are. And that's really kind of nice for us, although sometimes, of course, they've got misinformation. But when they have the right information, it makes our job really easy. And then often they'll buy from the jewelry store because it's really the only way you can see, touch. The other point I always like to make is that to the internet site, you are nobody. You're just
Right.
another clicker. But to us, you're a VIP, and you get all the benefit of our experience, our knowledge, our design expertise. We clean your jewelry, maintain it. So there's many benefits to going with a jeweler where you can touch and feel and share the joy of the moment.
Well, I would think that you're seeing probably multiple generations coming in. If you've been working with parents and then their child is getting married, and then just through the years, I think it's a really rewarding business to be in that way.
There is no more rewarding business. To be there at the important moments of someone's life, to share in the celebrations, no. This is the ultimate job.
Are you seeing the face of your client here in Hilton Head change at all? I mean, especially even during this recession that we're in at the moment. Are you seeing any changes in your client demographic as a recession or difficult economic times, however we want to define this?
A little bit. I would say regarding the recession, a recession's sort of like a wildfire, and it just burns out all the dead wood, and it leaves room for new growth to come up.
Right. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It can be painful.
It can be painful, but the strong survive, and if it means that you've got to figure out new ways to make your business better, new ways to add value, and it really leaves room for a lot of improvement.
I noticed, for example, you have a fantastic website. So is that something that has sort of come over the last couple of years, and it sounds like you've been changing your marketing somewhat as a result of the economic environment?
Yes, we're really one of the demographic changes is that we know women rule. Excuse me, guys. But women rule.
Women
they make
power.
the buying decisions. And so we gear everything to women now. Our sales presentations, the interior of our store. We have a kitchen. We offer refreshments. Our marketing, it's all geared toward women. And we know now that people, if you don't have a website, a web presence, they don't really take you seriously. So although we don't sell on the website, that's where people go to check you out. So it's really, really important.
The website and the experience and everything that you put together?
Yes. We also are seeing many women that are losing parents, and that's something a little bit different. I mean, we've always had an older demographic, but now we have more of the baby boomer age and the echo boomers coming in, getting married. But as the older generation is passing away, we're seeing a lot of people wondering what to do with their jewelry.
Well, let's actually take a quick break, because I'd really like to talk about that. I think that that's probably top on a lot of people's mind when it comes to jewelry. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Money Matters. We'll see you in just a moment. Welcome back to Money Matters. We're talking with Debbie Burling of Forsyth Jewelers about everything jewelry right now in jewelry stores, jewelers. But when we just broke off a second ago, we were talking about locally there is a need for people to sell estate jewelry. They have parents passing away. I know your mother passed away a couple years ago. I knew her personally, and I'm sure that she had a lot of jewelry. So how did you go about dividing that jewelry amongst your siblings? I know that can be a very emotional and touchy process. How did you do that?
Yes, it was. I did lose my mom 4 years ago, and Emily, your folks were really kind to my family. In fact, when we lost her, your mom brought us a bottle of Irish whiskey so that we could have a good old Irish wake.
We do that plenty.
Yeah. So. And my sisters, I have 2 sisters and a brother, we all gathered together, and I had already cleaned and polished all Mom's jewelry, and I laid it all out on the middle of the dining room table. We invited Dad to join us. We opened the bottle of Irish whiskey and all drank and told stories about Mom first. And
You're
then
kidding.
Daddy told us stories about each of the pieces of jewelry and when he gave it to Mom, and the little elephant pin for their trip to Africa and so on. And we sat around and just kind of divvied it up. And it's interesting because the most valuable pieces all went to my sister-in-law. But the pieces that we fought over were like the little earrings that she wore every day,
Right.
and it was the bread and butter jewelry.
Yeah.
And I think Mom knew this because every time she had a picture taken, like for the church directory, she'd wear all her jewelry, the pearls, the gold chain,
Yeah.
all the bracelets. I'd say, Mom, are you trying to look like Mrs. Gottbucks for the church directory? And she'd say, no, but someday all this jewelry is going to go to you and to the granddaughters and the grandchildren, and I want them to point to this picture and say, see, the pearls you're wearing belong to Grammy B. So I always try to encourage people, wear your jewelry, wear it all the time. And if you don't wear the expensive jewelry, wear the everyday jewelry, but let the people that love you see you wearing it, because that is the value of jewelry. That's the investment that you make.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
That really
Oh, we had a good time, and the whiskey helped.
So now, I'm assuming that a lot of people come into your store to sell their jewelries, sell their gold, sell their diamonds.
Yeah.
There are a lot of places that you can go and do that. How should a family choose a jeweler or choose a location to sell their jewelry? How can they maximize the value, et cetera?
Yes, good. Word of mouth is the best way to choose the jeweler. But my suggestion always, everyone has some jewelry that nobody wants. And you can melt it down. Gold's at an all-time high. I think it's still about $1,600 per ounce. But you could also, you might want to shop 3 jewelers. The same way you shop for a bank loan or an appliance or a car, you go to 3 places, because there's no way you can know you're getting the most for the jewelry. We had a customer came in once and asked my dad to dispose of some very expensive pieces she had, and my dad took them to 3 brokers, and the first one begged to be able to give a second offer after others had made offers. Dad said no. And then I think he offered something like 20-some thousand. And then he offered to another, and that broker said 40-some thousand. But
Wow.
I want to offer again. And Dad said, no, these are blind offers. He sent it to the 3rd person, who asked permission to take it to Japan and show it to an investor there. He got $106,000 for this woman's collection.
Wow.
So you never know what factors are affecting the offer. It could be that the jeweler has someone in mind for this, or whatever, but you have to shop at least 3 places. You can leave it on consignment, in which case you could expect a better return, because now you're carrying the risk of when it's going to sell.
And a typical consignment is sort of what, a 60-40 type split, or
It
what's
could be, today it's more like 50-50.
Okay.
And you could also get a cash offer for it, and there you might expect to get 20 to 25% of the retail appraised value.
Are people taking their jewelry to the internet to sell it as well? Or is that, I mean,
Yes.
I've never looked up jewelry on eBay.
Yes,
but
of course they are. You can buy everything on eBay, but that is where you're probably going to get the lowest return of all. Yeah.
Now, how about just selecting a jeweler in general, regardless of whether you're going to be selling something? If I'm getting engaged and I want to go, purchase a stone for the first time, how do I select a jeweler? What's the best way? I mean, obviously, you need to have a personal connection, I would think, as well, since it is
I think
emotionally
so.
charged.
Bad news travels fast. So if you can find a jeweler that everyone's saying good things about, if you know that they have a graduate gemologist on staff, that really helps. If you know they've been in business for many, many years, well, nobody's in business that long without doing a good job, so that helps. If they're a member of the American Gem Society, you know they're held to very high educational and ethical standards. You'd pick a jeweler the same way you'd pick your hairdresser, really, or a doctor, someone you trust, and word of mouth is really good.
And then lastly, I guess, since we are talking about money matters, do you consider jewelry, and this is probably, I don't know if this is a sacrilegious question to ask or not, but do you consider jewelry to be an investment?
I do not consider jewelry to be a financial investment, although it's held its value. In fact, it's gone up. But jewelry is an investment in love. And when I think that my bracelet here reminds me of my grandmother, my grandfather gave it to my grandmother, my ring was given to me by my staff, so that's very important to me. My other ring is from my mom, so it's a way that there's really nothing else that holds memories and love the symbolic power of jewelry is just incredible.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
These earrings are actually when my daughter was first born. So I mean, you're right. There's memories that are just attached to all of it.
Yeah. As I go to you for financial investment
right.
advice, but come to me if you want investment in love and memories.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. I
Pleasure.
really appreciate it, and I'd love to have you back
pleasure.
again to
Thank you.
discuss, further changes in the jewelry industry. And it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks very much, and we'll be back in just a minute with the closing of Money Matters. I'm Emily Johnson here with Debbie Burling, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back to Money Matters, and our close for the day is the action item that I have to fulfill with my daughter, who I promised could come on TV with me at some point during the year. So from our family to yours, and from Money Matters and WHHI to yours, we say,
welcome to Money Matters.
and Happy New Year
Happy New Year to
from Money Matters. Have a great New Year. We look forward to seeing you in 2012.
Mwah.